this is Chris, and this is Barn on 11970. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to check out one of my videos and hear what I have to say. I came across this article when I was typing into search engine of what is the average American family household. And from what I've seen, it averages between 50 and 53,000 plus a year, which to me sounds crazy when you consider so many people's jobs have been brought overseas, and a lot of people are working at places like Walmart and Target and fast food restaurants and working part-time jobs. I seriously doubt the average person, considering there are over probably between 35 and 40 million Americans on welfare, even remotely coming close to this. So I think they are factoring in way too many billionaires into that equation. But let's just assume the average income. Let's just humor everyone and say that the average household income is around $50,000. I want to show something really quick. Okay, so this is the national debt clock. And as you could see right now, we have a national debt of $19 trillion. And as I speak, every few seconds, it's pretty much going to go up an extra $100,000. So they're saying that the debt per citizen as of now is about $58,851 per person. Debt per taxpayer, $158,836. The federal U.S. Fed spends $3 trillion with a budget of $445 billion. And you could see the rest of it that's happening as we speak. So by the time this video is over, we will have gone up at least another $1 million in debt. Now, to show people this illusion, now I've said it in very many videos, and this needs to really sink in, that we borrow money from a foreign bank. Okay, we should know this at this point. They seem to have an unlimited amount of currency to provide this country, and who knows who else on this planet. So we see right now our country owes $19 trillion, which does not include interest. Because if you know anything about the creation of currency, they only create the principal amount and never the interest. So you need to keep borrowing more to pay back that interest, which makes more interest, so on and so forth. Now, we are programmed to believe that the U.S. is the strongest nation on the planet. They're the wealthiest nation on the planet. I fail to see that if you are in debt. You are $19 trillion in debt, which means if you had $0 in your pocket, you would be wealthier than the U.S. nation because they owe $19 trillion. So they're negative $19 trillion. Now just imagine what's going to happen. So I'm going to put it in perspective that most people can understand, because I'm sure most people have credit cards, which I highly recommend you rip up and throw out, because that's contributing to the debt. If you do not have the money to afford to buy something, then you shouldn't have it. And I practice what I preach, because I do not own any credit cards. I don't even have a bank account. I have a federal credit union, and it has a credit card that takes money out of my account, which means I cannot exceed what I have. So if I have $200 in my account, well, I can't go out and buy something for $201. So if it makes you more fiscally responsible, so you're not putting yourself in debt with easy financing and lower payments and extended payments and things like that. That's how they entrap people. But let's say you have your credit card and you use it. So let's say, like I said before, the average salary is about $53,000. So as you could see on the clock, the average debt per citizen is $58,000. So even if you go by what they're saying is true, which we know it's not, but if the average American made $53,000 a year, well, they owe $58,000 in taxes and debt. And per taxpayer, $158,000. So you are automatically in the hole. If you take every single dime that you made, you are still owing money. Works really great for the American system, doesn't it? Now, let's assume we know about credit cards. When you have a credit card, you have to pay it back. Because if you don't pay it back, bad things are going to happen. If you have a mortgage, in other words, a death pledge, look it up because that's what mortgage means. So when you die, you go to a morgue with a mortician. It's all in the words, but we're not going to get into that here. I have other videos that talk about that stuff. But if you have a mortgage and you decide to, or can't pay the mortgage, what are they then to do with your home? Well, they take it away. So we have a debt. Now, who do we have a debt to? Well, China owns some of our debt. The majority of it pretty much comes from the Federal Reserve, a private-owned bank that we, for some reason, instead of making our own money and being fiscally responsible, we give that problem over to a foreign bank who charges us interest, aka taxes. Now, if we cannot pay back this debt, what do you think would happen if you had a mortgage and you're paying for it with a credit card and you had a $10,000 limit and you spend that $10,000, but you can't afford to pay it back? So they give you $20,000 in debt. They extend your credit and you max that out and you can't pay that back because there's even more interest. So they keep extending it and keep extending it. Do you think they will continually extend your credit forever if you are not able to pay it back? Well, as of now, that's what they're doing with the national debt. Only a few years ago, like a year or two ago, we were only 17 trillion in debt. We've gone up $2 trillion. Now you think, oh, 17 to 19 is not a big deal, but that's 17 trillion to 19 trillion. And yet we are still labeled a wealthy nation. Can anyone please explain that to me? I mean, just look at the numbers as they continue to go. Rewind this video to the beginning and see where the national debt clock started and how high it is now, just a few short minutes of me talking. This is not going to stop. So until we get rid of this Ponzi scheme, you are going to owe more and more. Because let me ask you something. Doesn't the Federal Reserve write these checks? Who knows where they come from? I mean, they're the best musicians. They're the best magicians in the planet because they could pull money out of thin air. Because like I've said in previous videos and other videos, I mean, can anyone name something that the Federal Reserve sells? Do they manufacture anything? Do they create anything? How about anything? Do they even sell an idea? Do they have a YouTube channel where they make ad revenue? So how do they get all of this money, but yet they seem to loan out billions of it all the time? Well, if that's the case, then can't we just borrow enough to pay off our debt? But wouldn't we have to pay interest on that as well? But what if we created our own wealth from our own country instead of borrowing it from a national bank? Well, would we have that same debt? I would think not. And that's why I've told people on numerous occasions, look up Executive Order 11110. That's 4 ones and an O. You could find it. You just got to Google it. It takes a couple of seconds to do it, so I hope you will. And you will see that John F. Kennedy, what a coincidence he was assassinated a little bit after this, wanted to have our country create its own money through the U.S. Treasury. Now, you wouldn't have to pay taxes on that because it's made in-house. Skipping the middleman. You know, if you're in business, you know all about that, because if you take out the middleman, well, there's more profit and less debt. So this clock is going to endlessly continue to go up. But if you think that it's going to go up to 100 trillion, 10 quadrillion, where do you think it stops? Does it get to the point where the debt per citizen is $1 million each? Good luck paying that back. So there's either going to be a reset or there's going to be some kind of war to distract you. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a nuclear war because they can't really earn debt from billions of dead people. You know, a few 100,000, what do they care? You know, if you have a cattle ranch and you have 1 million cattle and 10,000 die, yeah, that's sad, but it's not going to make you go out of business. So that's what war is all about. It's thinning the herd, but not destroying it. It's why they'll scare you to death about nuclear war, but there never will be one. Because who do they rule if all the people are destroyed? and they're living underground because they destroyed the planet, making it unlivable for anyone. They might have the bunkers underground, but that's not the hell of a way to live for the next couple of centuries, in my personal opinion. So, unless people wake up from this slumber, that debt is going to get higher and higher. And it's coming because our government, and I'm sure other governments throughout the world, have decided that instead of making their own wealth, saving billions of dollars of taxes for its own people, they decide the few will get very wealthy by screwing the majority. Because just imagine if you had a credit card with unlimited credit and you could buy whatever you wanted and you could give the bill to your next door neighbor. Wouldn't you take advantage of it? How long do you think your next door neighbor is going to allow themselves to continue to pay your debt before they either can't do it anymore or won't do it anymore? At what level of theft does it have to take before people say, this is unacceptable? Hey, if you make $150,000 a year, guess what? You are 8,000 in debt to the government if you give every single penny of it to the government, because like the screen says, $158,806 debt per taxpayer. So if you are a doctor or a lawyer and you take home $150,000, let's say after taxes, well, can't buy any food, can't pay your rent, can't go on vacation, can't go to the movies, because it's all going to them, the very wealthy at the top, and they'll thank you for every penny you decide to give them. Because if you know anything about the U.S. Constitution, and they talk about the amendments, the 13th Amendment, which talks about the legal definition of slavery, people have to understand that words in the English language are different when it comes to legal definitions. It's called legalese. That the 13th Amendment is taking the word slavery and legally defining it as involuntary servitude. Well, they're not coming to your house with guns saying, pay your taxes right now. They're sending you a bill. They might even send you a threatening letter. But in the end, you volunteer your servitude, which means the 13th Amendment no longer applies to you. This is what people don't want to understand. And keep watching your Super Bowls. Keep watching the latest gossip. Keep worrying about fashions. Keep laughing at people like myself and others who are trying to save you from the inevitable. Keep ignoring it. It's like ignoring your teeth. Don't brush your teeth. Ignore them. They may last a while, but one day you're going to wake up with a smile of pearly browns, not pearly whites, and they may disappear on you. Not much you can do then. So it all boils down to choice. But you cannot avoid what is happening. You're on a track, and you don't see a train. So you think you can have your picnic on that track, because you don't see a train. Nothing's hurting you. And it may take days, may take weeks, may even take years. But if you continue to stay on that track, eventually you will get run over. And that's what's going to happen with this national debt. And it's going to happen throughout the world, because this is not just a U.S. thing. Because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, outside of the United States of America Corporation, your countries are corporations too. They are all hooked and latched onto the U.S. dollar. So for all of you that think America is the only problem and you wish us death and destruction and hope we fade away, well, be careful what you wish for. You might get it, because once the U.S. dollar falls, all currencies fall. Because thanks to Richard Nixon and all of your politicians and leaders throughout your countries, the euro and all over in Australia and all the countries around the world, China, you name them, they're in it, that in 1971, Richard Nixon convinced the world to take their currencies throughout the world off the gold standard, which means they are backed by nothing but debt and your labor. Now, of course, I seriously doubt Richard Nixon put a gun to everybody's head and made them sign. I'm sure they saw how much money they could profit off of this and how long it would take the average person to smarten up and realize the scam. So the people at the top will always be financially secure and well prepared before they set the collapse or even know when it's coming. But when we fall, it all falls. This world has been set up to be a set of dominoes. Doesn't matter who's first. So be careful what you wish for, and keep attacking and making fun of and wishing bad things on fellow earthlings, fellow humans. live beings. See how well that works. So this is a dose of reality. And if you're listening to this far, you actually care. There's many people that shut it off way long ago because they're la la la, see no hear, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. You want to cover for evil. You're getting exactly what you give. It's all about your servitude. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So if you don't know legal definitions, you don't know what you're saying, well, they don't care. They're collecting off of your ignorance. Like a prime example, let's say you were born, whatever state you want to pick. Let's just say Texas. You go to a court, and they say, what state are you from? And you say, well, I live in Texas. That sounds like something a normal person would say, wouldn't they? They live in Texas. Well, let me ask you something. You live underground? You live in the dirt? Because when you say you live in Texas, or whatever state you want to fill in the blank with, you're confirming that you're a corpse, because only dead things, only dead entities, fictional corporations, corpses, can live in the ground. You live on top of it, don't you? But you've been conditioned to say, oh, I live in New York. Oh, I live in Texas. Oh, I live in the town of Poopsville. You don't live in anything. Learn the difference between a house and a domicile. These are legal words, and that's why they tell you ignorance of the law is no excuse. So this is about a 16 to 17 minute video. Go see where the debt started when I started this video. In less than 20 minutes, how it's increased almost by $1 million. And it's going to continue nonstop. This lovely service that they provide for us works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, making you more and more in debt, while they sit around and play golf, laugh at each other's jokes, wear nice suits and ties, fly around in private jets that we pay for, telling you how much they care about you. Yep, they'll really kiss your rear end when they want your vote. But if they really cared, they would erase this national debt by no longer allowing a foreign bank to finance it. But everybody's afraid of that, to say anything, because that might ruin their buzz, their good time. So, keep getting yourself drunk on that railroad track because you don't see a train coming. And when that train hits you, don't act surprised and don't complain. Don't sit there saying, I didn't see it coming. Or if you're too dumb to realize to get the hell off the tracks, then you're going to get exactly what everybody deserves. And a lot of people may get offended by that, but you know what? Maybe you need to hear something like that, a little dose of reality, to say it's time to step up. I wonder if anybody out there cares enough, because there'll be plenty of people that care to make fun of me for this or attack me for this, because, I might not say everything 100% correct. So they'll focus on the one or two things, so they might not like me personally. You can hate me all you want, doesn't change the national debt and the way it's processed and the way it's run, and why people like JFK got murdered for wanting to stop it. You don't want to care. You're going to get exactly what you deserve. You get what you give. You want to give nothing, don't be surprised you get nothing. But as you can see with the national debt, probably better off you had nothing. But you owe. I owe. It's off to work. I go. So I hope you will spread the word on this. I hope you will take this seriously and stop letting governments throughout the world distract you with their entertainment. Because, yeah, it's fun. You're going to have a great time while they steal your wealth from you and your family and your future. One day that comes crawling down. All comes tumbling down. It's like London Bridge. Good luck repairing it. So if you want to do something about this, start spreading the word. Start talking to your politicians. Start not accepting everything just because that's the way it is. Because it's not going to be this way forever. Because then, those who think that, they're the crazy ones. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.